Alright there people, this is Pray Love and I'm going to do a video that compares the Nishane X versions of fragrances uh, compared to their like original so Nishane X is for the 10 years of Nishane they've done like a collection of fragrances that are like their best sellers, but they've revamped the original formulations, so it's kind of like flankers, but whatever. And they tried to address criticism that their clients were reporting. So I would have done a video that compares like every of the releases. I haven't smelled like all the releases from Nishane X, uh, but I've smelled like Ani X and Hashivat X, and could compare them with the originals. Um, and I must say that I'm a bit underwhelmed by the new releases from Nishane. Um, that being said, they're not bad fragrances. It's just that when you actually know the original fragrances, like you remember them, and then you smell the new ones, you're like, oh, like yeah, I get where they're going, but I think that the addressed criticism for a lot of their fragrances was that perhaps they had like limited use, or they were a bit too specific, or they had like notes that were more deranging or something. I think that removing those notes, removing this kind of oomph that the fragrances had, I've just made the fragrances a lot more boring. That is my opinion. Like on the up up until now, I've tried a couple of them, and they always smell a I do remember the first one I smelled was Ani X, um, and yeah, I was like, I smelled it. I was like, kind of smells like Ani, but uh, with less personality. So that was my assessment of the situation. Hashavat, same thing, you know. The Hashavat X is a bit closer to Aventus than the normal Hashavat. Um, and it's a lot more like mass appealing. So I think that for people out there that really want to go for mass appeal over originality, the new line is probably made for you. So if you're like, oh, I like honey, but it's a bit too much for me, then you could go for honey X. And I think they're really well done. Like the fragrances are well blended, they're well done. They address some actual criticism for their original releases. The original releases are not gone; they're still there, so you can still go for the original releases if you're like me and you're not happy with what's going on with like the actual new releases. I think that it's still pretty. For me, it's a bit strange from a house such as Nishane to actually do a line that's just more mainstream and mass appealing than their original fragrances. Um, like knowing that their original fragrances, they're very like specific, they have like character, they have something going on that's different. It's always a bit different, they do things a different way, and that's why we like them. So when I smell these shiny fragrances, normally I'm like, oh, this one is really not for me, oh, this one is really good and stuff like that. But I'm not like addressing criticism. It's just like it's really well done, but it's not for me. It was always that with Nishani fragrances, and then they released this line, and I'm like, I don't hate them. It's just I hate none of them. It's just not my style, you know. So it's just more boring. You know, it's just more boring. That I don't really get what they were trying to do. Well, I get it because they try to accommodate what people were criticizing them for, but I think it's a loss of like identity for the brand to do something like that. Uh, if they wanted to address criticism, perhaps they could have done, oh yeah, we're gonna take out that note because it's getting criticized, but we're gonna put another like challenging note in there, or I don't know. We're gonna try to twist it so it's still challenging, it's still new, but it still retains of the original vibe. But no, they really went for like, oh, we're just gonna get them to be more mainstream. It's really how it feels. I cannot say it otherwise. It's really like the same fragrances but more mainstream. So that being said, perhaps you really like the new Nishane X releases. I like them. You know, it's they're good fragrances and they're quality fragrances. So, I mean, for someone who really wants like a really high quality, less less niche Ani or Hashivat or whatever they come up with. I think I only smelled two fragrances, but they had like the both the same idea. I know I've smelled other ones side by side. I don't remember. I was in store and someone was like, "Oh, check it out, the new Nishane X." I was like, "Oh, let's try some." And I was always it was always the same thing. You know, it's like, yeah, it's the fragrance, but with elements taken out of it, and so it's more mass appealing. That's what I think. But if you're looking for like a mass appealing, very easy reach fragrance that has like this niche quality, these like niche quality ingredients, and uh, like the quality overall is so superb. Like Nishane Asevat X is probably 1,000 times more quality and worthy of the price than Aventus for the same kind of type of scent, and it's projecting like frenzy and it lasts forever. So I mean, those fragrances are still very good for what you're looking for. I think that if you want like an Aventus twist that is it's kind of a lot different in the same style but pretty different, like it's really not the same fragrance, then you can go for the original Hasevat versus the Hasevat X, which is a bit closer to what Aventus is, a bit more mainstream, more mass appealing. um, I have nothing against mass appeal. So if you're really looking just for that, what I'm looking for in Nishani is like niche ideas and creativity in fragrances. I'm not looking for mass appeal when I'm shopping for Nishani. I'm looking for mass appeal when I'm looking at you know Dior fragrances, but not when I'm shopping from like Nishani fragrances. So yeah. So let me tell you what you think about them. Perhaps you really like them. Perhaps you're like, what is he talking about? They're like so different and stuff like that. Perhaps you can tell me like otherwise. I'm really happy to have like a constructive criticism and opinions on this channel. So that being said, spread love and spray love. Bye bye.